Welcome back. Today, as part of my daily chess development, I'm going to analyze a game I played against one of you, my subscribers. This game was against Anderson Connors, and it was a daily game. If you're not familiar with daily games, it's basically the digital equivalent of a correspondence game. And on the other website, Lichess, it's called correspondence chess. It means you have a day or more to make each move. It's really a great format for people who aren't online at the same time but still want to play each other, because I can make a move when I'm online, and then I can go about my day. And the opponent can make their move whenever they're online, and then they can go about their day, and so on. Anyway, I have played several games against Anderson Connors, but this one ended in a draw. I used my one game review per day to run the game review here, and it looks like I was ahead almost the entire way, except for the last section where we were drawn, and one little section in the middle where Mr. Connors had a very slight advantage. So neither one of us played spectacularly, but neither one of us played horribly, I guess, at least according to this percentage of our accuracy. I'm going to switch over to the analysis tab, and I'm going to turn off the lines so I can't see them, and then I'll make moves until we get to one of these places where it looks like there's a bunch of them, but I'm going to learn as much as I can from the moves that I should have played versus the moves that I did play. I opened with the English, which I have been doing for a few months now, and Anderson responded with the symmetrical variation. I'm pretty sure that usually when I see this, I played knight to c3, but in this game I decided to try something different. Probably I was looking at the opening book. And that's one thing I forgot to mention. If you are playing daily or correspondence games, the rules do allow you to look at opening books as long as they're not evaluated with an engine. And that must have been why I switched up here and played knight to f3 instead of knight to c3. And Mr. Connors played the knight to c6, and I played e3, and my opponent's next move was a blunder. According to this, well, that was b5. Now, I'm not sure what the idea of b5 is, but it looks like I can just take it. And it wasn't counted as a mistake for me to do so. I assume that the idea behind that move was to distract my c-pawn from what it's currently doing, which is guarding d5. And that does look like it might have been part of the idea, because Anderson did play d5 a few moves later. After I took the pawn, which attacks the knight, he put the knight on a5, which I guess it's safe for the moment. And then g3 was counted as inaccurate, but it didn't take the evaluation down. Yes, it did. That probably should have been counted as a mistake. It went from 2.3 to 1.3. What should I have played here? Should I have just gone ahead and played d5? Or should I have gotten this bishop out and castled? I'm curious as to what the lines say. d4, I said d5, but it says d4 is one of my moves, or bishop to e2. Okay, those are the top two. And b3 also would have been fine. Oh, I guess that would have kept the knight from coming in here to c4. I understand that. I played this because that's what I very often play in the English, get the bishop out this way and then castle. Also, that rook is exposed over there. That's one downside of moving the b-pawn, because once my bishop's here, it's just pointed at the rook with nothing in the way, although I guess he could block with his own bishop. Anyway, my opponent played knight to f6. We're still at about 1 point something. I did put my bishop on g2, pointed at the rook. d5 blocks that path, of course, and it's twice protected, so now my bishop's not pointed at the rook anymore, and I castled, which was my plan the whole time. I'm not sure exactly why I'm up +1. I know I'm up a pawn, and that's supposed to equal about a point in the evaluation. But it looks like Anderson is controlling more of the center and center adjacent squares than I am. I mean, look at all those squares that his pieces control here. The knight's controlling that, and this one over here. Not to mention the bishop pointing through here on this entire diagonal. Whereas I'm controlling relatively few squares on the other side of the board. Looks like just those. But maybe being up that one pawn is enough. All right, instead of trying to explain every move from here on out, I was just trying to get through this opening. I don't know how far off of, regular openings this is, but we both played a few inaccuracies here, but I maintained an advantage up to about +3 at this point, so maybe that should have been a mistake. But here I made a mistake, and my mistake was playing b3. Now, earlier b3 was suggested for me, I assumed, to guard that square, but I'm currently guarding that square with my d-pawn, so the only reason for playing b3 at this point would be to develop the bishop. So what should I have done instead of b3? It looks like b3 took away more than half my advantage. Should I have gotten my queen out of this pin? Should I have threatened the bishop with a pawn? Should I have played d4? I know in the English it very often says d4 a lot earlier than I'm ready to play it. I'm gonna guess either getting my queen out of the pin so I can move the knight if I need to, or challenging the bishop with h3. So either queen to c2 or h3 are my guesses as to what I should have played. Oh, queen to a4. Oh, way over there. Or e4, not d4. Okay, I don't understand e4. They have multiple pieces guarding that, and if I take here, then my queen's we're in danger of involuntary queen trade, or bishop to d2. Bishop to d2 looks like it would have been almost as big a mistake as b3, so queen to a4 is my only good move here that wouldn't have been counted as a mistake, but I don't know why. It does get the queen out of this pin, I get that, and it threatens the undefended, no, the knight is defended, so it doesn't threaten the undefended knight. It does threaten a discovered check, but it's going to be pretty easy to block that check, so I have no idea why that is my only move. And it says if I played that, my opponent would take this knight here, and of course I would take back, and then they would drop this knight back. I don't know why, because it's defended. I guess because I could add another attacker to it eventually? Okay, well, I don't understand that. That is not an elementary level blunder here. This is an obvious developmental move. I guess maybe it's too slow, and that's why, you know, it gives the opponent a chance to develop a piece, but I'm still up +1. This is inaccurate. I decided to develop this first to help protect the knight while I went over here. I'm just going to move on to the point of my next mistake. I did get the bishop out, brought my queen over. Like I said earlier, I'm up 1.1. This was a little bit of an inaccuracy, so now I'm at +2 inaccuracy. The reason I did that is because the queen wasn't guarding the knight anymore, so I knew it would open up the king, so I'm not sure why that's inaccurate, because now the king is open, which can't be good. But my next move was a mistake here. I played d4. And the reason I played d4 is because in the English, as long as I've been playing it, every time I don't play d4 at some point in the first 15 moves, the engine says, oh, you should have played d4. Like 98% of the time. But here it was a mistake to play d4. Well, earlier it said e4, so maybe that was it. Also, the reason I played d4 is it gives my queen access to this very long diagonal across here, which is right in front of the king. But I guess the problem with d4 is that I don't know what the problem with d4 is. Okay, so I'm at a loss there. Maybe h3? Maybe queen to b2 to immediately target that pawn, which they could very easily protect in any number of ways. For that matter, they could protect it by moving the king up. But yeah, h3 is going to be my guess. Let's turn on the lines. It was not. It was queen to c3, which targets the now undefended knight. Okay, that I do understand. No, it's not the best move anymore. All right, then. I don't understand a4, why a4 would be the best move, but I do understand queen to c3. Oh, and I understand a4 because they're pointed at my b-pawn. Queen to c3 points at the knight, but then they would defend it by hitting here. But then I would take on f6, which also threatens this pawn. Okay, so I guess I do understand both of those moves. This protects my b-pawn. This is a fork of two things that are hanging right now. But if I play queen to c3, like I said, they would take my b-pawn. Then I would take their f-pawn. Then they would take my d-pawn. And it says, and then I would play e4. I don't know why. They could just take that too. They wouldn't, though, according to this. Very interesting. It looks like we would just take a bunch of each other's pawns. Okay, well, this is also not an elementary blunder. I'm not too worried about that. I played d4 and it's bad, but oh, now we're down to even, it says. Okay, but then Anderson blundered by dropping the bishop back to point at my queen, and I assume that's because I can just move the queen, but I didn't move it to the right spot. I moved over, and I should have moved it somewhere else. Should I have moved up since the knight is still undefended? Because going to b2 was a problem. Should I have played e4 here? I'm going to guess I should have played e4. Okay, I got it this time. I'm up +3 if I play e4, and it says he wouldn't take. I'm pretty sure most opponents I've played would take first, and then when I took back, their bishop's not in danger anymore. And my knight is pinned. I would have to move my queen again to unpin it. Again. But if I played e4, they should either drop the bishop back, or... No, what? It says they should take on d4 with the c-pawn, and it would be worse to take this pawn. Why not? I have to know. If they take there and I take back... Oh, it says he would go ahead and take. And when I took back, which would be my only move at that point, I'm up one pawn, but somehow I'm up +4, even though they can pick up a pawn and I wouldn't be up a pawn anymore. I'm pointed at the rook, but it's protected. He could play f5 and immediately challenge my queen, but then I would go over to h4 and I'd be up +4. I guess that pawn's hanging, but they could protect it. And my queen looks like it's about to get trapped because there's very few places I can move here. Well, what? Yeah, why if they played here... Now I can take this pawn, which I don't know why I would, because they're about to move this bishop anyway to point at my queen. Oh, the reason I would take this pawn is to give my queen a way out. Okay, so if they, oh, this says they would just take it. Why wouldn't they threaten my queen? Because I would go all the way across and then they can just move their knight. But they wouldn't. They would play queen to c7 to defend it. And now this pawn is hanging. So I would push my b-pawn to threaten their queen, which they could take. And now look at this. Why, how am I so far ahead? I don't know. I would threaten their queen again and they would just take it. And now I would play knight to e5, but then they would play knight to b7. And I would sneak my queen in there. Oh my goodness. No, come on. Sorry, I went down a whole bunch of moves trying to figure out why e4 was best here. And it says I'd be up like +4 after all of that. But I wouldn't. would be equal on material. I'd put my queen way down where they could easily attack it a lot. Oh my goodness, no. Okay, I'm fine with playing this. I'm still ahead a little bit. And here my opponent should have taken the still hanging b pawn or moved the king up to protect that pawn. But instead he brought this rook over to point at this pawn. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why he didn't just take it. And I went to protect it, but I shouldn't have. Earlier I should have protected it, but now I should just take the c-pawn. Yeah, the engine says I'm at +3 if I'll just take the c-pawn, but I of course I didn't understand that. I do see that this pawn is hanging and he gave me a chance to defend it, so I defended it. Now he should have just moved his queen over, but instead he brought this bishop down in here, aimed at the rook. I think the idea was to kind of lock it in with this c-pawn in a second, but I can just take the c-pawn. Oh, okay. But instead I moved my rook to there, and now he can lock the bishop in with the c-pawn. Is that what he did? That is what he did, but I'm still ahead. I'm still ahead. I'm not sure how. I mean, that seems pretty restrictive to me. But I can just take the c-pawn. Is that what I did? Yes, okay. And then he took back... Oh, he should have taken that with his bishop. Well, I can see why he wouldn't. He took with the pawn, which, again, cements the bishop in there. Now I need to play knight to e1 to attack the bishop. Did I play that? Yes, okay. Where's my next mistake and or blunder? I'm still up nearly +4 now. We played a few more moves, and I took the bishop. Now our rooks are facing each other. And what I played was bishop to c6, which is there. But that's a blunder. But I'm up +4 if I will just play bishop to f1, or rook to c3, or bishop to e4. Okay, that attacks the pawn. This attacks the pawn. This attacks the pawn. Now it says if I play rook to c3, they're just going to take with their rook, and then I'm going to take back, and then they're going to move their queen over, and I would take the pawn. Okay, so basically all of these moves revolve around getting rid of this pawn, but I went down there. I assumed they could take with the knight. Oh, but then I couldn't take here because of, oh, wow, okay. That's why that's bad. And so now for the first time in the game, Anderson Connors has a very slight lead. He did take the bishop. Oh, and it's my best move to take back? Well, it's a good thing I did. I thought he was going to take my queen here. But if he takes my queen, I get his queen. It's actually his best move to take the pawn with the rook. But instead he just moved his queen over, which of course gives me a chance to save my queen going to c3, and I did. And now I'm back ahead again. A few more inaccuracies, but my next miss wasn't until move 38. So I'm just going to go to there, and you can kind of see what happened as we, kind of go through this. We did a queen trade. We, got down to just a few pieces left here. I'm still leading 1 point something this whole time, according to that eval bar. I don't know how much Stockfish is going to slow down my PC at this point. Okay, and then after this mistake, I'm up +5, my biggest lead of the game, and I missed it. I left the lines on, so I have to play knight to f3 here, or rook to d7. That protects. Oh, okay. Wait, why am I trying to protect that pawn? It's already protected. That's all rook to d7 does that I can see is protect this pawn, and that's all that knight to f3 does. I went knight to e2 because I was thinking of coming in here to f4 to attack the rook. So I had to play knight to f3 to be up +5. But why? What does that do? Okay, is it aiming in there? And their best move would have been king to g7. I wouldn't have expected my opponent to play king to g7 at this point. Pinning it. I mean, not that they were going to move that pawn just now anyway. In fact, I kind of got a feeling he put his king in here for a reason. Also, he can easily protect his bishop by setting it next to the king, where the king will defend it, or over here, or over here. But what if he did play king to g7? Now I'm going to go a knight to e5, threatening the rook, and then it's just going to move. How am I up +5? I have no idea. I'm not going to, follow that line out very far. But anyway, this put us back at +1 because I think it's obvious I'm coming in here to threaten the rook and also to defend the pawn's next advance. Okay, brought the rook down to threaten the knight, and I did put it in there. So now it can't go back in here anymore. Bishop to d6 was Anderson's best move here, threatening to mess up my pawn structure. My best move is knight to h3. No, that's not h3. Knight to h3 is over here. But I didn't want to mess up my pawn structure, so I moved my king forward to defend the knight. But that's a mistake that takes us back to even. And apparently we were even the rest of the game. But only if he takes. He did take. I took back. And now it says 0.1. But Anderson's best move is rook to d1. That's what he played. Oh, my best move is h5? Okay, because my pawn's guarding here and this one would be guarding there, so their king could never come around this way. Okay, because right now it can come around. Oh, okay. Or rook to b6, which is here. I kind of wanted it to, to leave it there in case the king did try to come for my pawn, then I would get that pawn, and then I could get the next pawn. Or rook to b8, which Oh, I guess comes over here. Okay, but I went to g2 because I was thinking that his rook was trying to come around this way, and I thought that, this would prevent that. But now it says he can play h5. I don't know why he would. Why wouldn't he try to get his king over here? It does say king to g6 is one of his better moves, but he played rook to d3, which leaves us at point 1. Again, I'm supposed to play h5, but I just brought my king back, and then he went to d1, and I put my king over here, thinking he might be trying to come for that pawn. But he put his rook back, and I put my king back, and we repeated. So, that was a draw. All right, well, there were several points in there that were counted as blunders and or mistakes, few, if any of which I understood. Some of them I thought I understood, but I have no idea why they would leave me at +5, +4. There were so many of them that if I just made this one move, it would have inexplicably put me way ahead. So even if I had found that move or considered that move, I don't know why I would have been so far ahead, because if you follow those lines out, I don't see what I'm getting from it. So I guess I should feel good about that as far as I can tell, all my blunders were advanced blunders. I don't even think any of them were intermediate, to be honest. If you do understand them, please let me know. And good game, Anderson Connors. In most ratings on most of these sites, Anderson's rated a little bit below me, although he's been gaining ground. So, good job keeping up with me in this one. Look forward to playing you again sometime. Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.